21-year-old rapper from Fontana, California, not Atlanta, not Toronto, not New York, just became the most talked about new name in hip-hop overnight. She didn't go viral off a beef. She didn't trend for a controversy. She ended up on what might be the most dominant album rollout in Billboard history. And she got there because Future said her name. That's it. Future said her name. And Drake called. If you don't know who Molly Santana is yet, you will by the end of this video. And more importantly, you'll understand exactly how this all came together. How a song called Ran to Atlanta became the cultural flashpoint of 2026, why an old interview about Nicki Minaj is suddenly everywhere, and why Ran to Atlanta is sitting in a dead heat to go #1. Let's set the scene. May 15th, 2026. Drake doesn't just drop an album, he drops 3 at once. 40-plus songs flooding streaming platforms simultaneously. ICEMAN alone racked up 140 million first-day streams on Spotify. The biggest album debut of 2026 so far. But out of all those songs across all 3 projects, one track kept coming up in every conversation. One collaboration that nobody saw coming, even though, looking back, it made complete sense. Ran to Atlanta, Drake, Future, and Molly Santana. 3 names. 3 completely different places in their careers. And somehow one of the coldest tracks of the year. Before we get to Drake's phone call, before we get to the charts, we need to understand who Molly Santana actually is, because she didn't come out of nowhere. She's been building this for years. The industry just wasn't watching closely enough. Molly Santana was born in 2004 in Fontana, California. She's of Japanese and Black descent, and both sides of that identity have shaped her sound in ways that are genuinely hard to describe. She's credited her time living in Tokyo and growing up in Atlanta as the 2 biggest forces behind her artistic direction. That's an unusual combination. Japanese cultural aesthetics filtered through Southern trap sensibility, and it gives her music a texture that doesn't sound like anyone else in the game right now. She first started gaining real traction in 2021 with her debut EP, Molly's World. It was a project that caught the attention of the underground hip-hop community specifically, not mainstream radio, not algorithms pushing her to the top, just raw word of mouth. People who cared about rap were passing her music around like a secret. She's signed to Victor Worldwide, the same label that launched Post Malone. That's not a coincidence. Victor has a track record of signing artists who have a genuinely distinct voice. And Molly fits that profile completely. Catalog kept growing from there. Her second studio album, Molly and Her Week of Wonders, dropped in May 2025, 17 tracks, recorded in January and February 2025 at a makeshift studio inside an Airbnb in Wyoming, of all places. The album draws its title from a 1970 Czech surrealist film, Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, and the sonic themes mirror that. Dreamlike, a little eerie, coming of age. She embarked on a 15-date North American tour for that project, hitting Chicago, Toronto, New York, Los Angeles, Denver. She'd already toured with Ski Mask, The Slump God, and Don Toliver. She was building real infrastructure around her career. By early 2026, she was performing at Rolling Loud Miami and Rolling Loud Orlando. At one of those sets, she brought out Northwest for a surprise appearance. That moment went viral on its own. She was already the name people were watching. The moment that changed everything hadn't happened yet. Future was already familiar with Molly's work. At some point during the ICEMAN sessions, he mentioned her name to Drake. That's it. That's the spark. Future said her name, and Drake made a call. In a recent interview with Complex's Jordan Rose, Molly broke down exactly how it went. Drake reached out directly and told her what Future had said.
Obviously, Drake just hit me up and was like, Future said your name. We gotta get you on this song.
She recalled the message almost word for word. Future said your name. We gotta get you on this song. Her response? When she heard that, she said it felt like destiny. And you can understand why. Future had already shouted her out inside the track itself. His verse includes the line, "Bring all the freaks to France and skirt in the sprinter. They want to play Molly Santana." So she wasn't just a featured artist. She was already woven into the DNA of the song before she recorded a single bar. Drake and Future built a track around the idea of her and then invited her in to complete it. She recorded her verse quickly, and then came the music video shoot, which by her own description was an entirely different level of production than anything she'd ever been part of before. It was fire, she said. I never shot a video that big of a production. Think about what that means from a career standpoint. One phone call, one cosign from Future, and suddenly you're on track 5 of Drake's 9th studio album, in the middle of what's being called one of the biggest hip-hop releases in years. The song itself, produced by Wheezy, is everything you'd want from this lineup. Drake opens with a reflective but confrontational energy, touching on loyalty, escape, and his complicated but deep relationship with Atlanta. Future brings his signature melodic grit, and Molly holds her own completely. Critics have described her verse as confident, sharp, and seamlessly woven into the track's cold, cinematic atmosphere. Solomon Pacemakerrick of Dazed magazine called her one of the clear highlights of the track, writing that her delivery was exactly what the maximalist beat deserved. There's also another layer to Ran to Atlanta that the internet picked up on immediately. During the Drake-Kendrick Lamar feud in 2024, one of the most stinging lines on Kendrick's Not Like Us accused Drake of being a colonizer in Atlanta, someone who used the city's culture and clout without genuinely belonging there. Drake addresses that head-on in this record. He raps, "Atlana'll tell you about my run. You know what I'm saying. Ask Pluto, Bank, or 21." Calling out Future, Pluto, Lil Baby, Bank, and 21 Savage by name. This isn't just a song, it's a statement. Once Ran to Atlanta started spreading everywhere, fans did what fans always do. They went digging, and what they found was a complex interview that Molly had done the previous year with the same journalist, Jordan Rose, that suddenly read completely differently in context. In that interview, Rose asked Molly about what it was like to break into underground rap as a woman. Her answer was raw and unfiltered. She called it a fucking battlefield. She talked about how hard it is for women to establish themselves regardless of where they end up in the industry. She said, "I know for a lot of women, this shit is tough. No matter wherever you get to the top, it is tough." And then she talked about Nicki Minaj. She said, "Listening to Nicki Minaj, that shit is just different. You could listen to Kendrick or Drake say some shit, but when Nicki come in and talk her shit, it's different. Everything about her is fucking special, bro. We love Nicki." She also name-dropped Lady Gaga in the same breath, framing both of them as women who carved paths under enormous industry pressure, paths that made it slightly easier for the next generation to follow. Now, here's why that interview went viral again. The moment ICEMAN dropped, Drake is a Young Money artist. Nicki Minaj is Young Money royalty. Molly Santana, who openly said Nicki's delivery is on a different plane than even Drake or Kendrick, just appeared on a Drake album. The internet saw the full circle moment immediately. She had been manifesting Young Money ties without even knowing it. A girl who grew up saying Nicki was untouchable just got co-signed by the man who built the Young Money era alongside her. There's a poetic irony there that fan communities latched onto hard, and it spread. There's something else worth acknowledging. Nicki Minaj is referenced inside ICEMAN itself. On a track called Don't Worry, Drake makes lyrical references to both Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. The Barbs. Nicki's fan base largely read those lines as playful rather than pointed. So the entire ICEMAN rollout has Nicki Minaj energy hovering around it in multiple directions. And Molly Santana sits right at the center of that conversation. Ran to Atlanta hit #1 on US Spotify within days of the album's release. That's just the streaming side of the story. On Billboard's Hot 100, the chart that combines streaming, radio, and digital sales, early projections have the song debating itself for the top spot, going head-to-head with another ICEMAN cut, Janice STFU. Both tracks are projected by Cart Predictions to debut at or near #1 on the chart dated May 30th, 2026. Whisper My Name is projected at #3. Drake is expected to occupy 14 of the top 15 spots on next week's Hot 100. which would make him the first male artist in history to achieve that specific milestone. But the record that people keep coming back to is the Michael Jackson comparison. If Ran to Atlanta tops the Hot 100, it would be Drake's 14th career #1 on that chart. That would break his current tie with Michael Jackson for the most #1 hits in Billboard Hot 100 history. Drake, alone, more chart toppers than the king of pop. That's the scale of the moment Molly Santana just walked into. For Future, a #1 on this track would give him his 4th career Hot 100 chart topper and his 3rd alongside Drake. Their chemistry has always translated to the charts. Back in 2015, their joint mixtape, What a Time to Be Alive, was released in 48 hours and became one of the most celebrated hip-hop projects of its era. Then came Life is Good in 2020. Now Ran to Atlanta in 2026. Every time these two link up, it hits. The remarkable entry in this equation is Molly Santana. If the track goes to #1, it would be her first Hot 100 placement of any kind. Not just her first #1, her literal first appearance on the chart, going straight to the top without ever having charted before. That almost never happens. The last time something close to that occurred at this scale was when a relatively unknown artist wrote a massive cosign onto a chart-dominating record. The music industry has specific momentum patterns, and what's happening with Molly right now fits every single marker of a career-defining breakout. She gained roughly 10 million monthly Spotify listeners overnight after ICEMAN dropped. Her existing catalog, Molly's World, Molly and Her Week of Wonders, her singles, suddenly had tens of millions of new ears on them. The algorithm started pushing her everywhere. New fans who found her through Ran to Atlanta went back and discovered an already developed artist with a unique sound and 2 full projects to explore. That's the difference between a feature that fades and a feature that launches a career. Molly had the foundation in place, the catalog was there, the live experience was there, Rolling Loud, the North American tour, the Sukuban Pro Wrestling event in New York. When the Drake cosign arrived, there was already something real to latch onto. And maybe the most fitting part of all of this, the detail that makes it feel almost scripted, is what Future said on the track. They want to play Molly Santana. He put her name in his verse before she even knew she was on the album. He was already announcing her to the world. Drake just made the call. So, let's bring this full circle. A 21-year-old from Fontana, California, with Japanese heritage, trap instincts, and an obsession with a 1970s Czech film, recorded her verse for what may become the #1 song in America. She got there because she spent years building something real. Future said her name. Drake made the call. Molly answered. The old interview about Nicki Minaj resurfacing wasn't a coincidence. It was the internet, doing what the internet does best, finding the thread that ties everything together. A young woman who called Nicki's presence in rap fucking special just landed on a Young Money-connected Atlanta-coded record-breaking album. The universe was apparently paying attention. Ran to Atlanta isn't just a song. It's a document of a very specific moment in hip-hop. Drake responding to the Kendrick era by doubling down on Atlanta, Future squashing beef by showing up, and Molly Santana stepping into the biggest spotlight of her career without blinking. Watch her name carefully. 'Cause if these chart projections hold, and everything suggests they will, this is only the beginning. If you're not already subscribed, do that now, because this story is still developing, and you don't want to miss the chart update when that billboard drops. Drop a comment below. Do you think Ran to Atlanta goes #1, or does Janice STFU edge it out? Let's talk